So my name is Ivan Zizek in my own language. I prefer Ivan in America, and I usually go by first name. I was born and raised in Frankfurt, Germany. My parents were guest workers from what is former Yugoslavia, so Croatia and Slovenia. And I now live in Washington D.C. And my educational background is I've got a BA in theatre arts, which I got here in the United States, an MFA in staging Shakespeare, which I got from Exeter University in England, and I've got an MPhil in performance practice, which I based on Elizabethan performance practices, which I also got from the University of Exeter in England. And currently I'm almost done with my MA in elementary education. So I had my first exposure to performing theatre, not seeing theatre, in first grade, where I played a very typical German folk tale character whose name is Till Eulenspiegel, who was a prankster, and I really loved it. However, in public school in Frankfurt, where I went, drama was not one of the classes that they would provide. So I also, since my parents were guest workers, had to go after regular school to Slovenian school. German government wanted to make sure that the guest workers' children would be ready to integrate into their own home cultures after their parents' duty was done in Germany. And in that Slovenian school, my teacher was really into drama, and she certainly put me in a drama every semester, a Slovenian drama, not German drama, which was different. However, once I got into my early teens, one of the other kids that were with me in Slovenian school told me about this professional youth theatre program, or theatre, that was in Frankfurt, and I auditioned and got in, and I started performing professionally, because I got paid, so I view that as professionally, when I was about 13, 14, would do youth theatre. I graduated high school when I was 16, and auditioned to go to the conservatoire for the dramatic arts in Vienna, and got accepted, but my father wouldn't let me. So that's when I dropped theatre until I was about 27.
Wow.
When I got back into it after a 5-year career in the fashion world. I ended up living in New York my final year, and I thought that I wanted to start looking into theatre again, and took some classes from a gentleman called Vic Perillo, who was a casting agent in LA, amongst other things, and had studied at the Actors Center, the original Actors Center in Actors Studio, not Actors Center, sorry, Actors Center is somewhere else. Mm-hmm. The original Actors Studio in New York. And he encouraged me to leave what I was doing at that time, which was working in the fashion world, to pursue acting, because he thought I had a future in that. And since I was already in the States, I was looking for programs that I could possibly afford, where I could maybe live amongst friends, where I could rent cheaply, and that was in Oregon. So I did my undergraduate studies in Oregon, and afterwards decided to go back to England. I did while I was working on my MPhil. Well, I started when I was doing my MFA. I got introduced to the Globe through my program, which does a 2-week stint at the Globe in the final year. And that's where I met the Master of Movement and the Master of Combat, and also the artistic director, who was at the time Mark Rylance, who's now Dominic Drumgoole. And I ended up researching, working and teaching for both the Master of Movement and the Master of Combat, and I also ended up performing on the Globe stage. The school where I'm working now is an independent school called Georgetown Day School, or for short GDS, and it's a social justice school which was founded in 1945 by a number of families that were African American and Jewish to be the first school to integrate African American and white children, which they did. One of the things that happened was once they started their curriculum, which was mostly by artists, that's why the arts are pushed so hard, drama, actors and visual artists, but once they started the curriculum, they noticed that there was still a wall for children of color with the adults. They would, when you had to say ma'am or sir, whatever, so they figured they'd drop that, and so we're all on first name basis. That's part of the culture of the school. And because the school was started with such a strong element of the arts, with actors and visual art teachers or artists who were then teaching the kids, they decided to make that as part of the core curriculum. So our students have to do music, they have to do visual arts, and they have to do drama, which are all part of the core curriculum. Music and visual arts start in pre-K, whereas drama starts in first grade, and dance comes in about sixth grade. My classes are in fourth grade, fifth grade. I don't teach sixth grade, but I teach seventh and eighth, and I do have to do some training with first, second, and all the other grades that I'm not teaching for assemblies that we do. So I prepare them for the assemblies for which they do performances. Well, the expectation of my students is, first of all, that they're having fun. I find, and that's from my own experience, if I'm not enjoying it, it's not sticking with me. If I have to force it, I have a harder time making it stick or remembering it. So that's the number one, and number two is discipline. Any of the arts. Bloody hell. For 2 weeks, not a single airplane, and now they have to be... I am actually in this wonderful... I've never been, really, truly been in the Midwest. So now, for the first time ever in my life, I'm in Iowa, in a place called Okoboji, or the Lakes, I guess they call it. And I'm at the Okoboji Summer Theatre, which is part of the Stevens College. And I have been hired for the role as Otto Frank in the play The Diary of Anne Frank. And they are doing a wonderful job flying us out, housing us, feeding us, and basically our whole day is about rehearsals and performance. So since Stevens College is a women's college, all of the female roles are obviously played by the students, and then they're flying professional performers in to play the male counterparts, which I think is a wonderful way of really having the students exposed to what is expected as a professional in the field, but also to bring their skills up to par. having someone who they might look up to or respect for their work ethic and work and resume, I suppose, makes them work even harder to, I think in a way impress them, which they do. I mean, the girls that we're working with in Unafranked are unbelievable. Sure. When I first came to DC in 2009, end of 2009, I knew nothing of DC. My partner and I moved from Maine, and I had no expectations. I thought there might be a couple of houses in DC, but I'd never been to DC. I didn't know what to expect. I'd never been on my map. Having been there for the past 7 years, there's more than 80 professional companies. So I'm not talking union houses, but houses that are professional and that will pay you. Yes, it's not a lot of money, but you're getting paid something.
Sure.
And I find it, when I compare it to New York, I find it more interesting to go to DC because you can find more theater that you could not put on in New York because of the cost of it, meaning if it's not going to make a lot of money, you can't put it on Broadway, off of Broadway. You have to put it on somewhere in Queens or something, you know, where no one's going to. Whereas in DC you can, and you find the support in the community. And we have a few union houses, large houses, and I've been fortunate enough to work with such well-established houses as, for instance, the Folger, especially since Shakespeare is one of the things I specialized in. The Folger, it's really nice to have that. But I think also as a budding actor, if you're first coming out into the scene, it's a much better way to penetrate the market than to go to a place like New York, for instance. So you have many more opportunities there. Get as high a degree as you can, so you can fall back on something that is a bit more secure than theatre. I think theatre nowadays has become so complicated because you haven't got any real ensemble companies anymore that hire you for 3 years or something, so you know for 3 years you're set. Nowadays it's from production to production, and it's really difficult to keep working and paying, and if you do keep working, to pay your rent. So I would suggest get as high a degree as you possibly can and have something to fall back on. I, for instance, teach during the day and I can do theatre at night, which now I really love because I am not desperate to get theatre work, and I even turn work down if it's not interesting me, and I love feeling that sort of, what's a good word for it, freedom to do that, which before I would have taken anything I could possibly get, whether I liked it or not, just to get the work and the money. Well, generally what you get is you get about 1.5 minutes, so 90 seconds, and you can do a 1-minute monologue in 30 seconds, or I think 16 bars of a song. I'm not a musical theatre person, so I don't ever do the songs. I've been to auditions where you could do 2 contrasting monologues, and they wanted, they gave you 3 minutes for that, so 1.5 minutes for each, but you don't have to make it the full 3 minutes, right? I mean, if you have a 1-minute monologue that is really crisp and good, that's better than having 1.5 minutes and it's not as tight or polished. Also, I've been to castings where it's cold readings, especially for some of the TV channels, like the Discovery Channel is in DC, so you're likely to get a casting call from them. Things like House of Cards, And I've been to auditions where I think you could have even recited a poem. As long as they could get a sense of who you are, I think you would have been alright. But I would always suggest to have at least 2 contrasting monologues, and never ever show the same monologue twice to the same person. So usually to break in, you have to see, especially the big houses, first casting you will never ever get cast. Second casting you won't ever get cast. Third, maybe, and I'm talking this is in your 3rd year seeing them. They have a casting call about once a year. If they're really interested, they might call you in for something specific in between, but the cattle call is what I'm talking about. And every time you go, you need to show them a different side of you. I always say to my students, if you're not spilling your guts and leaving a piece of your soul there with them for them to really get a sense of who you are, you're wasting yours and their time. Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity.